What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Crazy Cat Podcast. For once, I'm the host, Hylian Hero, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Gamerbro, to discuss all things The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to discuss.
Hey, hopefully Nintendo will in fact bring that in Wind Waker Switch.
The last
days.
the last Wii U port.
Who knows how long?
I mean, imagine if they're saving it for the new Switch so they can like make it look really good or something.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm like, but are we really gonna do Wii U ports on the next gen? Either way, I do think these games have been done. I do think they're coming one of these days. So I think Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, everyone will get the chance to play it.
I think that'd be like the one Wii U port they would do. If they were to do just one more on the new Switch, that'd be a combo pack. That'd be the one they would do.
They'll do a curveball on us and do Yoshi's Woolly World or something like that.
Even if it was like a remake, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyways, before we start talking about like the game itself, how old were you? If you remember.
My dad did give me his SNES, which was kind of like my first experience with gaming. Like I always say, my first game I ever played was Mario World. First Mario game. So due to that, technically Link to the Past was the first Zelda game I played, even though I didn't really play much of it, not as nearly as much as Mario World. But Twilight Princess, I guess outside of that, was technically my first Zelda game. I had it on the Wii. I don't remember how I got it necessarily. I think it might have been given to me through one of my mom's friends. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. So then I tried it out, and then my mom loved it too. Actually, she also played it and like completed it. So like that was my first experience with it. I never got a chance to complete it on Wii. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you're good.
But then when it came to Wii U, I finally got to play it again and actually beat it, and
nice.
It was an experience.
So,
and I fell in love with the game.
For myself, it was kind of a similar boat. I didn't know what Zelda was until after the 3DS had come out, but there'd be times I would go over to my uncle's place, and he would be constantly playing it, and I would have my own little save file. And I never got to like the first dungeon. I would get like stuck getting the Twilight fragments or whatever they're called, the tears, whatever they are. And I would just endlessly play
Tears of Light, I think.
Tears of Shadow or Tears of Light, yes, the perfect.
Oh yeah.
So I finally got into the series in 2011 when there really wasn't much of the time. I was like, you know what, give it a chance. I've heard really good things. Fell in love with the series after that, and then immediately after finishing Ocarina of Time, I decided, hey, I want to go back to the one on the Wii, because I had a Wii. It was really convenient. Played through it all on Wii. To this day, it's still a toss-up whether or not this Twilight Princess or Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite Zelda game of all time. It changes literally every other day. But
yeah, for me, Tears of the Kingdom is number one now. But and I kind of, it's weird just what it is, but it's like wild to say it's not. And I just saw Link, and then when I played Twilight Princess, I was like, wait a minute, that's his design that he has in Brawl. I was like, wait a minute, and when I saw Zelda, I was like, it's the same design. And then when I got to Ganondorf, I was like, it's the same design from Smash. the way I was mind blown. I mean, literally. Smash is how I discovered so many franchises and how I know about so many of them. So I was like, that's
how it is for a lot of people. It's great.
Especially when like I heard some of the reused voice clips in Twilight Princess that they use for Link and Brawl. I was like when he falls and he does the that's like his Star KO scream. I was like, hey, I know that sound.
But given the game is damn near 20 years old, I'm not gonna worry too much about spoilers. I think if you click on this video, you've probably have played the game at least to a point where you're not gonna care about spoilers.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw everything we have at this. There's no holds barred. Anything we want to discuss is fair game. Um, I think one of my favorite parts about Twilight Princess, outside of like the dungeons, which we'll talk about later, is the story. Like obviously it's no Skyward Sword like kind of narrative, but I would say Twilight Princess absolutely attempts to go broader with the characters, the narrative, like the scope overall. What did you think of the story? Like just overall, and then we'll go into details.
Oh gosh, I think it's one of the most interesting like story. Like I haven't played every Zelda game, but like I kind of know the story of each of them, and I definitely think it's one of the most interesting stories. One of the darker ones too.
For
It's like kind
sure.
of the darkest one we had since like Majora's Mask. So it was definitely like it was kind of cool that they kind of went back there again, and I just love the idea that Midna. I love Midna just as a character. Maybe it's because of like just the bias I have toward this game, but he was like also just one of the best parts. Like,
No. Midna was absolutely I think to this day probably will never be topped because who knows if they're gonna go back to sidekick characters with Zelda. But Midna is for sure the most fleshed out and genuinely appreciated sidekicks Link has ever had. Like they're all you don't like him at first because they're genuinely just awful, they're selfish. And as the story progresses, you see them actually start to care for Link and Link for Midna. And there really is touching moments throughout this entire story. Then once you get to the end and have to say goodbye, it's honestly it
dude,
brought a tear to my eye.
I straight the same for me. Oh, and another part that kind of made me tear up a bit was when she was like dying and he had to bring her to
With Midna's
Zelda.
lament
Like,
playing the entire way.
oh, the song too. That did not help. The do
That is
do
still one of my
do.
favorite Zelda tracks of all time. I don't know if it'll
And
ever be
then
topped.
the fact that they remixed it in Smash Ultimate, by the way, oh my god! When I heard the Smash Ultimate remix, I was like, ugh. And
No,
it's like more fast paced, but it like hits you still. It's like, oh,
when
that
that
remix.
got announced that that was like officially like in the game, even before I heard it, I was like, you know what, this is gonna be like my favorite piece of music in the game. It's gonna be better than the Zelda Breath of the Wild 2017 trailer remix they got in the game. I don't care, and they did that song
I
such justice.
it's sad that it took this long to get a Twilight Princess remix in Smash, but
Literally,
I hope future games give us like a couple more. Like there's so many songs I think would be cool to hear in like a Smash style.
yeah. But speaking of the story, obviously it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Was there any like really big moments? Like obviously we just talked about Zelda sacrificing herself to save Midna. Is there any other like big story beats like that really resonated with you that you still remember to this day?
Hmm. I'm trying to think back. I guess there was. Well, I mean, I guess I can go if I'm going to the end. The Ganondorf fight was like just insane. Like
Chef's kiss.
the
Oh my
Ga-
god.
and the way that you start off Beast versus Beast, Wolflink versus Beast Ganon, and then you switch to your human forms with a sword
Yep.
fight, and then you go on horseback after. Like it's like 3 phases. It's one of the most intense boss fights. Beast, then human, and then horse riding.
Got him
Like
back. It's
that's
the horse riding's before the like the final confrontation, but still it's
yeah, but still
genuinely
like the
fantastic.
way it's
The,
like
the
all phases.
the flow is fantastic because it genuinely feels like an epic finale. Like you don't really know. Obviously, you know you're gonna win because it's a video game, but you don't know if Link and Zelda actually have what it takes to take him down. And then when you
And
finally do, and you actually stab him right in the chest, chills.
also it was hard, by the way. Like I actually struggled with that. Like the horseback, I think a couple times, but mainly the on foot part, like sword fighting against Ganondorf, I struggled with because they have to do that thing where like
Yeah.
in that like that part you have to like I think it's like you have to spam the buttons so fast. I was like, oh,
No, they make you work
that
for it,
part
which
was
is
like
nice.
my fingers like genuinely got tired after it. I was like, oh my god. I sometimes I messed it up because they would like slip and I'd be like,
Yep.
oh dang it. It
Especially
was
on
so
the
hard. Like,
especially on the Wii, because for some reason I just never could get like a proper like grip on that A button on the Wii remote. That
oh
literally
yeah, I'm
it
glad
would just slip.
I'm glad I never got that far on the Wii. Oh my gosh, that was. I'm glad I finished it on the Wii U. That was a much better experience, and I played it with the Wii Classic control. No. Did I use gamepad? Maybe I did. I think I did use gamepad actually.
The gamepad is such a great experience for it. Like overall, I know like the visuals aren't to the same level as Wind Waker HD was, like at least the noticeable bits, but playing that game with the map, with the item screen on the gamepad is still one of the best uses of the Wii U gamepad that I think I've ever seen. Just like it's so handy to have your entire arsenal right at your fingertips.
The fact that like mid battle you can just look down and switch something real quick.
Yep.
Just be like, oh shoot, I need this. Just bam. Like
it
and the
saves
Wii
time.
had to. Yeah, and the Wii had to pause, then go to it, then move it, then unpause. It's like you can just.
Well, they also had that weird like cursor where you had to like aim at like which item you wanted, and they'd be like constantly moving around that you would never really know where everything is. It was just frustrating.
Also, I even just think I like how the game starts off with the. I never know how to say, is it Ilia or
Ilia?
Or
I've always said Ilia.
Yeah, Ilia. It is. I think it's Ioia. Just the way like it starts, like you already like kind of see her, and you're like, ooh, maybe there's a bit of an interest that she has in Link, and then suddenly she's also kidnapped, and it's like.
Speaking of the open,
and the way that she like.
Oh, go ahead.
The way she cares for his horse and is like, you need to treat him better or whatever.
Speaking
You're being too harsh on her.
Speaking of the opening, how did you feel about it? Because it's online, it's constantly criticized for how slow pacing wise it is to get going into like the first dungeon. Did you have a problem with it?
I think it's good. Like you kind of it gets you prepared. I think the second time I played through it, I made it pretty. I got to the beginning part pretty quickly.
Mm.
I think when I first played on Wii, I didn't know what to do, so I was stuck there for a while.
I mean, how were you supposed to know
whatever,
you had to fish for the cat twice? That drove me nuts on the Wii version.
I also didn't know about the goats in the ranch, and you had to go herd them. Yeah. And then also you had to save the baby cradle with the eagle.
Yeah.
And then give it to the.
I had such trouble with that when I first played it. My aim was just terrible because apparently I was always aiming too high.
Yeah, when I came to Wii U, I was older and a lot smarter. So I was like,
same.
oh well, now I know what to. Now I can figure it out. Now I know. I was like, how did I not know these things? And I was like 8, 9-year-old, whatever. It's like, come on.
But no, rightfully slow. Like obviously, there's like things to do. You're not a hero right away. You have a small farm life. I really enjoyed that slow burn, getting to like see Link in his green tunic and all that jazz. Getting into like the first dungeon, it felt nice because like Ocarina of Time was my first Zelda game, and that one it's so easy to be within the first dungeon within 10-15 minutes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like they kind of throw you right into combat, right into puzzles right away, that there really isn't time to kind of build the character, build the world, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I think not every game needs like an intense, quick opening. Like it's fine to start off slow. Like I mean, a more modern example, I'd say Breath of the Wild started off that way too. Like you kind of have to gather your materials first, and you have to go to the shrines, get your abilities, and then you have to go do this, then you get the glider, then you can leave. It's like it is kind of a slow opening, and if you don't know where to go, it might take a while. So
no,
it's not like
I think that
it's new for Zelda.
That often gets ignored just because you're obviously like within 5 minutes you're out of the Shrine of Resurrection and you can kind of do whatever you want. I think when they look at Twilight Princess compared to that, like yeah, you're still on this tutorial island for a few hours, but it still feels like you're doing more things of value, which I see it. I do think Breath of the Wild has a fantastic opening, but you can't really compare a more story-driven opening compared to throwing you right into gameplay, even if it's relatively like a 2-3 hour tutorial.
Oh yeah. Like I just got like so lost in the game's cutscenes. Like every single one just has like some sort of special thing. You know, like I even just the opening cinematic, the title screen. Oh my gosh!
Still has not been topped in my opinion.
When just that alone, like you start that, and I like that it kind of took inspiration from Ocarina of Time's title screen as well. Like it's in the same style with Link riding on the horse, but then he becomes a a wolf at the end. Like I think that's
That's
so
just how
good.
I see Twilight Princess. I always see Twilight Princess as a much more grand retelling of Ocarina of Time. Like obviously, it's a very different story.
It is
Ganondorf is still technically
it
the
is
same,
funny because it's the
but
one immediately after Ocarina of Time in the timeline
literally.
too. So
well, after
it
Majora's
continues.
Mask, but that's a
Well,
side thing.
you know what I mean. After that,
Yeah,
the
I do.
hero
Like,
after the
yeah.
Hero of Time era.
Mhm.
Because like
Yeah, it's like same Ganondorf.
Yeah, that means Ganondorf in Twilight Princess is the direct reincarnation of the Ocarina of Time one. So like
Not even a reincarnation. It's just the same Ganondorf. Just they got because like there was scene with like the sages trying to kill him off and then getting sent to the Twilight Realm. Apparently happens a few years or something like that after the events of Ocarina. And the hero Shade that teaches you those special moves is actually
oh yeah, that's Ocarina of
Ocarina of
Time
Time
Link. Yeah.
Link. Yeah. So
Dude,
it's
when I
really
found
cool
that
like
out,
how soon it is.
when I found that out, that blew my mind. I was like, that's hero. I was like, man, he did not age well.
I
was
remember
like, he did not age well.
I remember so many rumors back in the day that everyone was like, "Oh, at the end of Ocarina of Time, Link goes into the Lost Woods, and since he's apparently a fairy, he dies and becomes a Stalfos, and that's why he's the hero Shade." And I was like, I believed every word of it back then. I was like, that makes
And
so much
you know,
sense.
now that I think about it, it makes sense because you also there is the Lost Woods in Twilight Princess. Yeah, you also know it's kind of in the same continuation because the Lost Woods are in Twilight Princess with Skull Kid in there.
Exactly.
So he is. I remember when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And even I like the like remix they gave it too.
Oh
like
my!
It's a lot more gloomy.
And like I said, we'll get into like more like comparison of dungeons. Like talk about that later. But one of my favorites like scenes is going into the Lost Woods, getting the Master Sword, and then later on coming back and doing that Skull Kid chase again, and then actually getting to revisit the Ocarina Temple of Time, and then going in and having that as a dungeon. That was epic.
When I saw that, because I didn't like play Ocarina of Time at the time, but I knew like what it was, and I was like, "Is that the original Temple of Time for Ocarina of Time?" And
blew
even
me away.
the music itself, they didn't even remix it. It's just the same exact song too.
Yeah.
Just that like.
And putting the Master Sword back in and like having the stairs open up and actually being a dungeon. Chills, literal chills. I was like, because especially that was I just played Ocarina of Time. I was like, is every Zelda game gonna reference it like this? And
it's cool because like you think about it, the hero of Twilight is using the same exact Master Sword the hero of Time used. Like,
yeah.
And then the hero Shade, former hero of Time, is now teaching you moves that are actually in Ocarina of Time that you can use. Like, I love the way it actually shows the continuation. And Ganondorf also did not age well in those years, by the way.
But
his hair got longer. He got a little beefier.
one of my
he did not age well.
One of my other like really big story sequences have Bed Temple, and they meet up. Midnight Link meet up with Zant. All that stuff happens, and then he meets with the sage who like shows him this really trippy cutscene with like the sages, Dark Link, Elia, basically like how the Triforce can really turn somebody evil if it falls into the wrong hands. And I didn't understand what it was really saying my first time playing it through because I was like 11 or 12 at the time. But like looking into it now, it's like that's dark for a Zelda game. I was like, I didn't understand what I was seeing at the time, but now that I do, I'm like, holy, it's insane. Like you let this in a kid's game?
I mean, it was rated T.
It was. I forgot all. Like at the time, I was like, okay, it's fine. But
also another moment I always remember is the King Bulbin fight on Elden Bridge.
That
was which, by the way, with Brawl, I was like, hey, it's the one Smash stage.
Well,
I was like, hey,
and speaking of King Bulblin, like he's his own character. You meet up with him multiple times, and then you get to Hyrule Castle. You have that final face-off, and he's like, "Oh, I stand with the strongest," and he starts like insinuates that he's going to be on your side now. That was such a cool moment. 'Cause it's like,
Yeah, because there's the one where you also have to save Colin from
Yeah,
him as
there's
well.
that one. I think there's one with like them trying to blow up the bridge with like oil and stuff like that, and you have to stop them before they light.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and then there's the
they blow it up, and then you see the piece of it, and then you have to warp it back with the Twilight portal thingies.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's and honestly, like just Midna as a sidekick is like the character is one thing. Like their moves, like they can move stuff across the world and replace it. They can teleport you anytime you really want to. Like it's honestly their mechanic is really helpful, even when you don't really realize it's being helpful, which is nice.
yeah, and like, can I just even talk about the Wolf Link fight like moments? Like that's just adds a whole new dynamic to the game. So instead of just using your typical like sword moves, you actually have to and it's a little harder because you have to like charge up that attack
Yep.
from the just so it's like you kind of have to really strategize when to attack.
Yeah.
And it adds a whole new like element.
If it comes up, yes, but like I'm not probably not going to reference it much unless we like discuss like the Cave of Shadows, which we'll see.
I will say the one I have one version difference that kind of threw me off was that the
Yeah,
Wii
go for
U
it.
version was reversed from the Wii version, and it threw me off because it was all mirrored. But it's because it was like the original GameCube version. I was
Yep.
like,
Well, I mean, if you
wait,
played on
Ordon
hero
Village is
mode,
on this side now?
if you played on hero mode, it wasn't. So get good.
Hero mode? I never played it. Hero mode was like the
Yeah,
Wii version.
yeah,
Oh
that was the
wow.
really cool thing with the Wii U version is like normal version was the GameCube version, and then if you went to hero mode, it was the Wii version mode.
Ah.
So it kind of incentivized you to do two playthroughs.
I wish I had known that. I would have played Hero Mode. That's cool. That's kind of their way
I
of like
guess you'll have to
porting
play
both
hero mode
versions
when it comes out on the
into
Switch.
one. Man, I wish I knew that. Yeah, that's cool
But
though. But I remember being so thrown off because I was like, wait a minute, this path was on the right last
yeah,
time in Wii. Why is it on the left now? I'm so confused.
yeah,
I
no.
was like, wait.
Thankfully, going into the Wii U version, I knew about the GameCube and Wii differences, so it didn't throw me off too much. But it definitely was hard to get used to.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I kept going the wrong way
How
multiple
did you
times.
feel? How did you feel about the Twilight Realm? Like, I
Like
definitely did
the
not like the Tears quest. I didn't really like combat with Wolf Link. Like, it wasn't bad per se, but it definitely felt very tedious and very underwhelming everywhere besides Lake Hylia for me.
I actually kind of liked the Tears quest. It was kind of fun to go around and find them all, and it helped me like kind of discover the world and
That's
go
fair.
around, and it was interesting just having some of them were harder to get than others too, so it was kind of fun to like just I kind of liked it personally.
For me, I just felt it was very tedious. Like, it felt like you were going in a straight line just through a place you probably already explored. The reward for doing it really didn't feel very rewarding. Like, yeah, you were opening up the world again to being light instead of Twilight. But after the first or second time doing it, it was very underwhelming for me, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, although I do, yeah, it was nice to be able to turn everything into light though. It was kind of
It
cool to
was.
be able to do that. And then I like when you can like turn into a wolf or a human whenever you want, so it kind of was
No,
like
that definitely was a benefit of it. But
yeah, and so you weren't just forced to being a wolf every time. You were able to
but I always
get
groaned
out.
when I reached the Twilight Wall, and it's like, do you want to go in? I'm like, not really, but I have to.
Yeah, because like
But
that's what I always thought was like if I do this and I make it light, I can be a human in there, but I can also be a wolf when I want, which is great because like there's so many secret areas that you need to be a wolf to get into. So I've always liked that element. It's like, or there's those digging spots that you can only see as a wolf, which is really cool.
those were cool only when they would actually like let you go into a different room. Whenever it was just like a rupee or a heart, I was just like,
Oh yeah.
thank you.
You could kind of tell though because if it led to a secret area, it was by a wall or by like a mountain. Like if it was like just a
Yeah,
rock wall and you dug, it'd probably lead to a. So I
yeah,
guess they kind of made and they were slightly bigger. They looked a little bigger, so you can
that's
kind of
true.
tell.
Yeah. Speaking of the world, I mean, it really does feel like a cookie cutter Hyrule outside of the Gerudo Desert, I'd say. I really feel like the placement of that was kind of weird because it's like right next to Lake Hylia. So you've got this
and you have to
really
like
vast desert. You have to shoot yourself out of a cannon to get there.
it's a bit weird, but I mean, once you bring it to light though, then you get the portal above it to warp you there anytime you want, so it's not as bad. Which, by the way, the Gerudo Desert music I absolutely love. There's
It's so good.
And then,
but I mean, like,
and then I think that was the thing that made me realize too that it is a direct continuation of Ocarina of Time, because I was like, it's just Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time.
Literally.
It literally.
I mean, like, they really don't do anything different with the map, and I mean that's okay. But you've got like Death Mountain, you've got Zora's Domain, you've got Lake Hylia, you've got the Gerudo Desert, and then you've got Castle. And the Hyrule Field's like sprawling all around it, and it feels very cohesive. Like I said, outside of the desert, I really don't understand the placement with that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they wanted like a challenge element in order to get there. Which the annoying thing is like it was already really, that was my least favorite location to go to, because it was, the sand slowed you down. The enemies there were like really annoying to fight, but like I still liked being there.
Outside of Arbiter's Grounds, there really wasn't anything exciting there, really. Like,
Honestly, sometimes I went there just for the music.
That's definitely fair.
Because I just love the music so much. So I was like,
I forgot about the snowy area, Snow Peak. I was thinking like, oh yeah, there's one more area I'm forgetting about.
Yeah, Snow.
I really liked the music going through there. That was really fun. And then snowboarding, basically.
The shield surfing before shield surfing in Breath of the Wild was actually a thing.
Yeah, it was honestly cool to see that brought back to a lot more extreme in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I do wonder if that was where they got the idea. They're like, remember that one part in Twilight Princess? Let's do that, but let's make it a feature. Like when I first saw it in Breath of the Wild, I was like, this is like that one part in Twilight Princess. Except I can do it whenever I want now.
Yeah. But honestly, let's just get dungeons knocked out. Because I mean, in my opinion,
oh gosh,
Twilight Princess has the best dungeons overall in the entire series. No doubt.
I did. Well, I was gonna say there were some I did not love, but we'll get to those.
No, go for it. I want to hear which ones you didn't like.
I'm trying to remember exactly how they were. See, if I don't like them, I'm less likely to remember how they were. Death Mountain one, I think I remember being really annoyed with.
The Death Mountain one was very basic. It was a lot of walking around on ceilings with the iron boots.
Yeah, but I always I died a lot in there. I really hated it. And the boss was, what was the boss in that one?
It was the one really big fiery like demon that you had to like put on the boots and like kind of drag it with one of those like iron pulleys to like knock it down, and then you get to go wail on it.
Oh gosh,
it's forgettable.
Yeah, I hated that boss too. That was so annoying.
But I mean,
the first one I still sticks with me a lot. I love saving fighting the orangutan at the end.
Full scenery wise, I never really like connected with their like layouts and their kind of like their gimmick. Like the monkeys, collecting the monkeys is really fun. But I had this really bad memory of the first time I did this dungeon. For some reason, I could not find one monkey, and I had to go to a guide just to figure it out. And I hate going through guides, so that really like put a damper on it for me. But
I think I actually did too. But I still really loved that dungeon, and I just thought it was cute that they'll work with Link and help you swing across the rope.
They're very cute, and that is a big upside.
I always like that. And then the boss where you fight the big orangutan, and he's up there like smacking his booty or whatever. Just
But I think the Lake Bed Temple is one of the better water dungeons. Like it can definitely be confusing. One I liked. If you don't do it right, it can definitely be very confusing. But I think overall, it's still really enjoyable to get through.
I think I did get confused for a while. I think there was like one part I was stuck on for like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then I figured it out. But I did like that one overall. I also wasn't the biggest fan of Temple of Time. That one was kind of annoying for me.
I really liked it because it felt like I was like ascending like for the longest time. But then when you had to go back down with the statue, it kind of halted a little bit. Like it's not bad, but it's definitely not one of the the better ones.
Also, the puzzle you have to do before it in the last woods with the little statues.
The statues,
that took me forever.
Oh,
that took me forever.
I got it by dumb luck. I was just messing around at that point. I was like, I hate this.
I'm pretty sure. No joke. I think I did too. I'm pretty sure I was just like, I'm just gonna move this here, move this here, move this. Oh. I was like, all right, well,
I'm happy you brought that up because genuinely, that is probably the worst part of Twilight Princess is that one puzzle.
Yeah, like it took me, I think, like probably almost an hour.
I don't know if it took me that long, but it definitely took me like 15, 20 minutes of just pure anger, pure frustration. Probably me.
For me, it felt like an hour,
times.
but it was probably like 30 minutes. But
yeah.
It was so annoying.
But Arbiter's
what was
Grounds.
The other? Oh, Arbiter's Grounds.
Arbiter's Grounds is really good. The whole like prison, like the desert prison theming is beautiful. Like you get up there, you realize like that was where they tried to execute Ganondorf. That's where the mirror of Twilight once stood, and you had to find the pieces for that.
I'm trying to remember what that. For some reason, I can't seem to remember that one. I'm trying to like.
It's the one with the spinner. Like, you get the spinner towards the end. It's like
I did like that one. I think that one had my favorite boss too. I really loved the boss.
That's so good. Like especially
the way you have to use the spinner to like hit him, and then
and then the second phase is like you have to. Is it?
Was it a Wind Waker boss?
I don't think so. No, it's not a snake. No,
you're thinking of you're thinking of one of the Tears of the Kingdom bosses.
You have the right like perspective. I don't know, like I'd have to look into it, but I don't think it's from Wind Waker. I can't see them pulling like the same kind of boss 2 3D Zelda games in a row. But it very well could be. But the second phase is like you have to like race it up on like through the tower and then to try to hit its head with the spinner. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, that boss really stuck on. And don't forget the 3-headed Deku Baba boss from the first one as well.
I mean, I think overall all the bosses really cool. Like the Lake Bed Temple one was that, what was it, like an eel or something, and you had to like stab its eye.
Oh, I liked that one too. Really cool. What was the Temple of Time boss?
It was Goma from Ocarina, actually. Funnily enough, it was just a spider.
God, I hated that one. That one kind of annoyed me a little.
I didn't mind it. It was harmless.
Which, by the way, is funny because they used him again in Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, it's just very easy to use him. He's a mainstay. He was the first boss from Ocarina. He's iconic. Like, no matter how far you played through Ocarina, chances are you saw that boss.
Yeah.
And then there was the Snow Peak, Snowhead, Snow Peak, the mansion. That one was really cool.
I think there was one part I got very confused on in there. So I think that one's like in the middle for me. Like I like the water one and the desert, or the water one and the desert one maybe a little more, but and maybe the first one, but
I thought it was really cool. Like you meet the Yeti. He's just trying to cook his little soup for his sick wife, and like they keep leading you on wild goose chases to find like the key to the where the shard is in their bedroom, and like you keep fighting ingredients to make the soup better. I just thought that one was really cute. The boss
wasn't the
hit or miss.
Wasn't the boss
the wife was like spinner wasn't used, but there was a couple like hard for you to go for. It did not work very well 90% of the time, but when it did,
if you were going downhill though, it would work pretty well.
And then after Snowhead, you had the City in the Sky, and this one is renowned as one of the best in the series, and I get it. It's not my favorite in the game, but I definitely do love it.
I remember that one. I know you had to use like everything. Like you had to use the ball and chain somewhere. You had to use the spinner. You had to use the bow and arrow. Like
and like it really, this is where you get the double claw shots as well. It's like you really feel like you're a spy, like getting through some of these rooms because there's no floor in a lot of them. So you have to like just get through.
I remember having a lot of fun with this one, especially when I got the double claw shot because I could just.
And then I think this is probably the best, besides the final boss, obviously, but the best boss in the game is the dragon. And like you have to just fly through the air to catch up with them. Like maybe it's not the best gameplay wise, but thematically it's beautiful.
Giant dragon.
You get up to the top. You have to like hook shot your way up to these really tall pillars, and you have to try to like get your way onto his back.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah, and then you like slash him.
You basically like slap. Yeah, so good.
I liked that one too.
And then I feel really bad for saying this because it's like this area is so well like renowned and like because it got a stage in Hyrule Warriors, all that stuff. But the Twilight Realm, I really did not like that dungeon. I
hated that one too. It was very.
It had like
confusing and annoying for
me. Hand with like the eye that you had to shoot like because it kept trying to go for the orb, so you had to keep moving. It was so stressful as an 11-year-old.
And you have no idea. I know I keep mentioning different games, but when I saw those malice hands and Tears of the Kingdom, I got bad PTSD from that dungeon in Twilight Princess. I was like, oh no, you remind me of those hands in the Twilight Realm.
Hated. Like Zant was such a cool fight because he goes back through like every single like dungeon you've gone through and kind of like does something similar to it. Like,
I love really that. Cool. That was a cool boss fight. I really liked that.
The dungeon. The funny thing is, this is called Twilight Princess, but my least favorite parts of the game are all the Twilight.
And I like that. Like the game for a while makes you think that Zant is the main villain, but then you defeat him and you find out there's a Ganondorf, and he's not alone.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like I know they were kind of setting it up the entire time because like Ganondorf is still around, but I really empathize with. I hate saying it because he's a villain. I really empathize with Zant and how he immediately just gets his back turned on the second Ganondorf has the second to, like he's not useful anymore.
Oh yeah.
But Zant was such a cool villain because he was just so deranged. And then it's like, okay, party's over. It's Ganondorf time. Come to Hyrule Castle.
All the Twilight Princess did introduce some of the coolest characters. Like, there's also the bug girl as well. She wanted to collect all her bugs. Which, by the way, I laughed when they actually made her an actual character in Hyrule Warriors. That was really funny.
I was like, no way they brought her back.
I mean, I guess they had Twilight, Midna, and Zant already. So what's next?
They brought back Agatha and didn't put Groose in. From Skyward Sword.
Yeah, that was her name, Agatha. Yeah, Groose should have been a character.
I'm like, you didn't bring Groose in, but you bring Agatha?
Or no Demise. I was also surprised by that.
That would have been so cool. Like, at least for like a costume for Ganondorf. But anyways, the final dungeon is Hyrule Castle. This one's not so much of a dungeon as it is like just an experience to get you up to the final boss. I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed. I think Hyrule Town and Hyrule Castle is my favorite overall, just designs of the castle and the city. So it was really cool to actually get to go in, kind of walk around the castle a little bit and get up to the top for that final fight.
And the way Zelda becomes like possessed, by the way, when you get up there was like insane.
Another callback to Tears of the Kingdom, but not going to talk too much about that because the game isn't super old yet, so I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, like I said, both those games took inspiration from a lot of previous Zelda games. Yeah, so.
I mean, it was really cool to see something like that again. And then you get the beast game like we were talking about, then you get the horseback, and then you get that epic one-on-one final fight with Ganondorf. That just brings chills. But you have. Go.
And it's cool because the horseback, you're playing as Zelda in a way, because like you're controlling the horse, but she's the one shooting the bow, so it's And that was when I understood where Zelda's final smash came from in Brawl. I was like,
back to Smash.
Sorry, I just
good.
Thought of that. I was like, well, because I didn't know all those things until I played the game, and then when I went back to Smash, I was like, oh, now I
See,
get
I
it.
was so oblivious that I'm like, I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, okay, that's just who they are in Smash. That's good. Oh, that makes sense. Nice, nice. Um, but speaking of characters, like we were talking about Elia, we've talked about Agatha, we've talked about Midna, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Zelda,
Elia, I forgot about her.
Elia, we'll talk about Zelda in a little bit, but Elia and the other kids, I don't remember their names. I know Mallow was one of them.
Mallow,
Colin,
what was the other? Colin, I forget who the other
Beth.
was.
Her name is Beth.
Oh yeah, Beth, and there was I
I'm
think one
shocked
other
I
one.
remember that.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
Beth. Yeah, that's right.
they were really cool. Like none of the kids besides like Mallow really got much attention. Like Colin had that one horseback little quest to save him, but outside of that, he really
I
didn't
remember
do
there was
much.
that one cutscene as well where Colin and Link really kind of bonded.
Yeah,
Like it was like
that was
after
really
Link
cute.
saved Colin as well. Yeah, I like
But
that one.
then Elia gets amnesia for a good bit of the game and doesn't remember who Link is.
That
Get,
made me feel really sad, honestly.
I mean, it just shows that their romance was actually real. Then you had
Yeah.
Mayor Bo that you did wrestling with, and you got to see Link shirtless. So that
I
was one
love
of my gay awakenings.
I loved that. And
I won't lie.
he was like, and Twilight Princess Link is like a buff Link too. Like he was fairly buff too. So
that was fun. And then you had, I don't remember like any of their names besides like Telma, but like you had that
there's
like alliance group that was like trying to
oh
figure out
yeah.
like I think
There's also another wrestling
Shade or
part. I
Sean.
think there's another wrestling part. I think where you do
yeah,
the big Goron
with the Goron.
dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wasn't as cool though. Like I'm pretty sure he kept his clothes on for that one.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Still, like the fact that you do it again is cool.
I didn't like the wrestling part. I'm not gonna lie. Like it felt very finicky how the mechanics worked.
There's the one, I forget their names, but the one sick woman and like her husband, or the sick husband and the woman in the one house, kind of close to the mayor's house.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember that part too. Like,
but I mean, like just overall, the world feels very lived in. All these characters are really interesting, really nice. Like you even get to go to the hidden village for One Piece, and like you actually get to see Impa, which was a really cool little thing.
Impa was there? Oh yeah, that's right.
She's very old and very unimportant.
That's right. That was the first time again. Breath of the Wild with the old Impa, taking the inspiration from that. But I remember loving that part because like the little fight you do there, it really felt like a Wild West scene.
It did, 100%.
Cool.
You snuck into town. And it's just like bam, bam, bam.
Even the music too. The it's very Wild West. I love the music for that. That's also in Smash, which is also cool.
But I think the one character that I don't think that got much justice is actually Zelda in this game. Like basically up until the final boss, like in a couple of cutscenes, she doesn't do anything. Like yeah, she spares Midna's life. Yeah, she's there for the final battle. She's just kind of locked away in the castle the entire game.
Also, for a while, you don't even see her because she has the like black robe on.
Yeah, she has the hood on. And she basically has the black hood on for most of the game, but besides like one or two instances in her bedroom, I'm assuming it is, or whatever her chamber she's in, and then you see her in like all her glory with the puppet Zelda fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't always have a ton of focus, so I understand it.
Yeah, all the characters are. Oh, and of course, there's Beetle right before you go into the first dungeon.
Forgot about them.
When he's by the pot and he tells you can like he can make you something.
Is he actually named Beetle in this game?
I think he was. I'm pretty sure he was. Maybe he had a different name in Twilight Princess, but it was for sure
Lantern Guy.
He was for sure based on Beetle. That's for sure.
His name is Koro, so he's not Beetle, but he definitely gives off a Beetle vibe.
Interesting. So different.
I forgot all about him. I won't lie. I feel bad.
So he was kind of like based on. Well, he was for sure based on.
He gives me Beetle vibes. He definitely gives me that kind of vibe.
This is weird they didn't just call him Beetle at that point. But...
Yeah, they probably wanted to differentiate a bit because like he's not.
Oh yeah, there Beetle. He is. but he has like the backpack, the big like hair, the clothes,
scrawny,
the goofy face.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's majority of what we should talk about with Twilight Princess. Like, it's a fantastic game. Hopefully, it gets that Switch version here in the next 6 to 12 months.
There was
Fingers
one
crossed.
thing I was thinking about that I remember a lot was the
Go for it.
carriage part where you have to keep the carriage from burning down
because you're trying to transport the dying Zora.
Yeah, like I remember and I just remember it because like when I did it on Wii, that was where I stopped because I could not beat it.
Really?
That was as far as I got when I played it on Wii. Like I had such a hard time with it, but then when I came back to it on Wii U, it was like I think I still struggled a bit, and I think I did lose a couple times, but I think I got it like in my third attempt or something. So I think I realized like I just have to have good muscle memory, attack the enemies, but also keep focus on the carriage, then attack the enemies again. I actually had a strategy. Like I was like, do this a few times, check the carriage, do this a few times, check the carriage. I just kept doing that, and then I eventually
the one thing
did it,
the one thing I really do appreciate about the Wii U version of Twilight Princess is it added amiibo support. And if hero mode was not hard enough for you, you could scan the Ganondorf amiibo from the Smash Bros. Line, and it will give you double the attack, like double hit points. So basically, like hearts will spawn in hero mode, and if you scan the Ganondorf amiibo, you get, I think it's purple heart. It's either blue or purple hearts, and you'll just take double damage. And basically, early game, anything one hit kills you basically. So it's intense.
I mean, no better fitting amiibo than the Ganondorf one. I wonder if because at the time they were, I don't even think they had the just Zelda series Twilight Princess Link, but I wonder what the Link and Zelda one did. The Smash Link and Zelda one, because they're also Twilight Princess technically.
They did do something. I don't remember off the tip of my head what it did. I think obviously it did something, and obviously the game came with its own Wolf Link and
the Wolf Link one. The Wolf Link gave you that special dungeon.
Yes.
No, there is, but I was just saying it wasn't out at the time.
No, we didn't know like what the purpose was when scanning it.
I got this with the game when I got it on Wii U.
If I can reach for it, likewise.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I have this too.
I've got you.
My goal. I'm trying to collect the.
I've got you beat.
Oh, I still need that one. It's weird that Ganondorf only has 2 amiibo. It's weird that Ganondorf only got 2 amiibo so far.
I mean, to be fair, he didn't show up in Skyward Sword. He didn't show up in Breath of the Wild. There really hasn't been a ton of opportunities.
They did all the Link and Zelda variants, but they didn't do Wind Waker Ganondorf, and they didn't do like that's really the only other one, really.
They didn't do
Ocarina of Time.
They didn't do Twilight Princess Zelda. They didn't do Ocarina Zelda.
Technically, they didn't do an official non-Smash Twilight Princess Ganondorf either. So this kind of
literally, we didn't get none of the new design Smash Amiibo, which really bums me out because there was definitely some that could have used it.
I also would have loved the Fox and Falco Star Fox Zero ones and the Ike, the classic Ike, and
literally
that's got new characters, but since they got redesigns, I feel like they should be the exceptions, but whatever.
I agree. Anything you want to discuss about Twilight Princess before we start wrapping? God.
What?
What'd you say?
I'm wondering what he said.
What'd you say?
Dude, that's
at least
why
Sora's getting 1.
No joke. That's why I thought he was taking so long, because I was like, because Sakurai said, "Oh, there's all 4 designs you can choose." I thought they're gonna give all 4 of his designs amiibo, but nope, just the one. One last.
Yeah.
I think out of all the Zelda games, I don't know if it's just like a bias or whatever, but besides Link's design, outside of Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild being my second favorite Link design, which also, yes, I flipped out when I saw that Twilight Princess Link outfit was in Breath of the Wild. I have it in Tears
Same.
of the Kingdom. It was the first
Same.
one I went for in Tears of the Kingdom, and I use it all the time now. I'm like,
I didn't let myself use a guide to find it, so I just kind of had to find all the pieces naturally. But I was so hyped when I had that full costume.
I think I only found the locations, but when I got to the locations, I didn't use a guide. I figured that out. But anyway, I was gonna say the music, I think for me is like it's probably my favorite Zelda soundtrack. Like all the
That's fair.
music,
Yeah.
just like even every time I listen to the Ordon Village music, I get so much nostalgia because it's like the first song you hear in the game too. Technically, outside of the title screen.
It's not Ordon, it's Kakariko. For me, it's like you
Oh,
enter it in, you hear the do 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 or something like that. It's so
the classic.
good.
It started just like the Ocarina of Time one.
Yep.
But then it changes into like this like barren, hot desert type of like song, and then
it
the
feels
Hyrule
Western.
Field music. You can't forget the Hyrule Field music.
Yes.
Best Hyrule Field
100%.
music in the entire series.
No, I think you're right. Overall, Twilight Princess definitely does have the best soundtrack. I mean, like I'm sure there's higher highs, but it's overall fantastic.
I love how ominous. I remember a part. I think it was the Beast Ganon fight. Like the music was kind of like it was like kind of like chanting, creepy.
It's creepy. It absolutely is.
Yeah, like the creepy chanting. Like I said, the Gerudo Desert music I absolutely love. There's also the mini game music I also remember a lot of too. That one
the bizarre one for like the hook shot mini game or whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, or the one where you're flying through with the
bird,
the thingy by Lake Hylia. Yeah.
Yep.
I that one.
That one's good.
That song. What other songs are there? Oh, also the music that plays when you're herding the goats. The no 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 no. I remember.
The problem is now I want to replay this game, but I'm not going to do it because I still have hope that February Nintendo Direct is going to give us some Twilight Princess news.
I know.
I hope.
Part of me is really thinking like, what if the reason they didn't port it is because they're not gonna just port Twilight Princess HD and be done with it? What if they're gonna like remaster it? Like, because we've been getting a lot of these game remasters lately. Like, what if they're, especially the GameCube remasters? But
I don't want to go too much on a tangent. I really think it was they planned to bring them out in 2023 because Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to come out last year. They delayed Tears of the Kingdom and just like, well, yeah, we have these ready, but we have so much going on with the Switch this year. We're not going to do it.
But
I really do think it's coming next year.
But one can hope, especially with all the GameCube remasters they've been doing. Like,
literally,
they can take the Metroid Prime remastered, like kind of what they did with that, and just give it to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. That'd be cool.
Well,
HD graphics.
Rumors are saying these games have been done and sitting somewhere on in Nintendo's offices for a couple years now. So if they actually do happen, we'll see. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Like I'm saying I'd be fine with just the HD versions ported, but I was just saying, imagine how crazy it'd be if they were like more than HD and were like just remastered. Like
I'm so happy with like the HD versions that came to Wii U. I wouldn't complain.
Did Prime Remastered did they redo the music on that, or was it just the same?
I want to say they redid it. I was
gonna say, imagine if like Twilight Princess, we got like fresh new versions of the soundtrack. Oh, now that would be. And now see, that's why I would want to remaster. Just be like newer, like live instrument orchestra versions of the songs. That would be really cool. That'd be like the one, nice. Oh, especially Midna's Lament. Oh my gosh.
That might be better than the Smash Bros. Remix.
Yeah, that'd be
all right.
And I guess I'll mention a side note because it's kind of not related, but sort of is. The way I freaked out when I heard the Hyrule Field rock remix for Twilight Princess and Hyrule Warriors. Oh my gosh,
it's good. It's not my favorite, but it's good.
And the level, when I played through the level as well, I was just like having like nostalgia. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I like playing as the Twilight Princess Link costume and stuff. And the fact that one of his weapons is actually the ball and chain in that game, I was like, yes.
And the spinner got it as well, thankfully.
Oh yeah, that's right. The spinner was there too.
I think it was like DLC or something, but it did get in.
Yeah, I think it was one of the DLC.
And the literal ladle, yeah.
The soup. Oh yeah, I forgot about the chain chomp. Thanks to I like to say thanks to Link's Awakening because it had all the Mario enemies in there, a few of them.
Yeah.
So thanks, Link's Awakening. You got a chain chomp in a Hyrule Warriors game.
But all right, I think that's just about everything. Thank you guys so much
Yeah.
for sitting through and listening to us for the better part of an hour. If you'd like to support us, we do have a Patreon that always appreciate if you guys wanted to subscribe to. All the money that we get goes right back into the channel. And follow us on our socials. We have Instagram and the Twitter at, I believe, Crazy Cat Studios or something. It's in the description. Don't worry about me. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.